really just gets out there and helps people. That's what we want to do. We want to share our knowledge. We want to give back, and that's what we've been here for, and that's what the four of us do. Scrolling along the bottom is our office hours that we partnered with Osler. We're able to use their facility. You're able to book a time. You're able to come in with us. Our next one is Tuesday the 24th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So, please sign up. The email is there, and we're open. I think we had 5 companies come through yesterday, and it was a lot of great conversations. I also wanted to, it's not scrolling, but the Startup TNT applications are open. In 1 week, they close. So if you're raising funds right now, look at Startup TNT. It's an open for any tech companies across the prairies, and get after it. Here is a conversation I've been excited about having for a long time. I got to know Kayla and her brother Connor probably about a year or so ago, and I'm so excited about this. Kayla, how are you today?
I'm doing so good. How are you?
Well, I can't complain. It's a beautiful Wednesday. It's I got 5 stitches on the top of my foot, so I can't really walk anywhere. But that's a whole different story.
Okay, yes, you're definitely gonna have to tell me that one when we're done here.
We'll talk about that after.
Okay.
Um, but one of the usually I start the same way, but I actually want to start this a little differently because I mean, I shared and kind of my journey when my father passed away, and how tough it was on us and how tough it would be on everybody. And it was unexpected. My dad came into the hospital and he died the same day. We had to take him off life support. And then I made, after we told all the family and everybody came, I went to Passingon and I used the process of Kayla's company. And I think the right word I was looking for, it made a grieving process a heck of a lot more bearable. We were able to find obviously we had a relationship. So you reached out and texted me, and we were personally going back and forth, but we got a funeral home. My mom was really happy with the funeral home. They were great. They set up everything. It was awesome. So, I always love using the product of the people I interview. I wish I didn't have to use it this early, but I just want to say, thank you so much for creating something like this that really, really helped our family, and I can see how many families it can help in the future.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, I agree. I wish you didn't have to use our product at all, but I'm glad, I guess, that we were able to help you and your family in some small way during a really difficult time, and that obviously you thought of us in the first place. That means the world, us being, you know brand new and and trying to grow and all that sort of thing. So your words mean the world, and I'm so happy that everything went smoothly, and that your mom was happy with the funeral home, and that warms my heart. I know funeral directors work really, really hard for their families, and I know that funeral home in particular did a fabulous job. So I'm super happy to hear that, given the
Well, so
circumstances.
are we.
Yeah.
I had no worries, and it made a grieving process a lot easier. And 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 I kind of, that leads into my next question, right? I always find that companies that have the most success, and companies that understand the needs of the market, are people that worked in the industry and people that see that there's a gap and they're able to kind of fill it. And you were a funeral director, so why don't you maybe talk about the process of you becoming a funeral director and how that morphed into an idea for passing on?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess many people don't realize this, but funeral directors actually do many, many years of school. So I did kind of fall into the field in a funny way. I was a makeup artist and was picked up by a local funeral home who thought that I had an awesome portfolio, and kind of said, "How would you feel about doing this type of work for our families in need?" And my family had been in medicine, and that was kind of what I was accustomed to my whole life growing up. So I really was kind of like, you know what, I don't know until I try, kind of thing. And I did. I ultimately, fell in love with, I guess, funny as it sounds, I fell in love with the families and the environment of being able to be there for people during such an incredibly vulnerable time, and the stories and the people that come through the door, the stories of the deceased, all that sort of thing. It was just such an really truly I guess incredible experience that really opens your eyes in
Oh,
so many different ways, like ways I can't even begin to talk about in a short period of time here. But it was nothing short of an honor, and I was quick to jump into. I got my license. um, every single day was so unique and so different, and I really can't describe it as anything other than just like such an honor to work with all of these families. Um, but I think as I went through school, even in those like early days, there were some things that I kind of noticed were a trend within the industry. One of which were that there was somewhat of a taboo surrounding funeral and technology, and there was this ideology being put forward even in my early days in class, where it was that technology was one day going to eradicate our role as funeral directors. And I tended to disagree with that. I felt that that was an assumption that, I didn't agree with. I think that
yeah.
technology can be utilized in such a way that advances our capabilities, not diminishes them. So that was something that I noticed right from the get go. And then, of course, as throughout my many years funeral directing, I'm actually going on 10 years upcoming. So that's crazy for me to think. But in all of those years dealing with families, I think uh, one thing remains being seen over and over again. I loved what I do. I do love what I do. I went above and beyond for my families inside the funeral home and out.
Yeah.
But there were areas that I continued to feel as if I was falling short, and that there were certain ways that regulation and certain, I guess, processes disallowed me to work at my full potential for the families that I served. So that's essentially how Passingon was born.
Yeah, and as I said when during the intro, is there's always something that comes in, a- and it's like you said, it's such a difficult time, right? And I mean, it must. I just kind of want to like die. Like obviously, when you say you're working with and you're for the families, and the families are grieving, and there's the emotions are going all over the place for the families, and I'm sure some are positive emotions, some might be negative emotions. How do you handle that? Like, and how? And I mean, I don't know any funeral directors, so you're the only one I've ever met. So I mean, I watched, my mom really wanted to have a hands on and do things perfectly, right? And I'm sure that's not always the case.
You know what? Everyone grieves so differently. And I know, don't get me wrong, there are, these kind of guidelines set out by different people. Kubler-Ross talks about this in their Death, Dying, and Disposition kind of books. I believe it's the 5 stages of grief. There's 7 stages of grief. There's, all of these ideologies that are out there that say, this is kind of the pattern people go through, but never have I ever dealt with a family who has grieved the same way or in the same order. um, it simply doesn't exist. I think that's kind of, in a sense, the beauty of what I experienced in throughout my career is you get to be a part of something that's a very vulnerable um, human state. It is a fact of our lives. We all go through it at some point in one way or another. And there is something about the way that we grieve, all of us in those positions, that will teach us things and that will allow us to move forward a certain way. I don't think there's such a thing as ever getting over a loved one's loss,
Yeah.
um, but there is moving forward from it. And I think everyone does that differently. And of course, funeral directors also have to deal with not only personalities and differences in the way people grieve, but we're talking about world religions and denominations and different beliefs when it comes to your loved ones departing, and how that looks physically, spiritually, emotionally. All of these things really are are different around the world, and it's something that, as you know, Calgary is a melting pot. we we are so blessed to have such diversity here.
Yeah.
So I have had the honor of working with so many different, world religions in this kind of area. And that's where things get interesting, though. Different funeral homes, different funeral directors sometimes specialize in different things. And that's why, once again, this is something that we've brought to Passingon to say that families can come through here and filter kind of what the best funeral homes and positioning will be for their family going through this sort of thing when that time comes. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that brings up an interesting, you're bringing in tech to
Yeah.
help the family to make it to make these decisions a little easier. I mean, when I went through the process, I didn't tell you that I went and I did it. I wanted to experience, and then obviously we had the personal relationship that kind of took
Yeah.
over a little bit. But
Yeah.
why don't you explain kind of how the process works and why? Why was I able to become, find such a really good funeral home that worked for us and our family, even though, there was multiple options for us to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I guess first and foremost, I'll say that we've manually curated our technology and all of our listings of funeral homes that exist. The reason that we did that, and I mean, many people are probably listening to this right now going, well, why didn't you just pull it from Google? That's so much easier. But I unfortunately could not do that because to date, not even Google is accurate in all of the funeral homes that are listed. So if you're looking at, funeral homes in Calgary or, a location that's close to you or whatever the case, maybe you're looking to filter by budget or by denominational needs, by location close or other provinces, all that sort of thing. There's many factors that come into selecting a funeral home. And we found that, unfortunately, if you were to just simply Google funeral homes near me, it comes up with a list, but no real information that helps you to choose the best one for you, right? So that's essentially what we bring to the table when someone goes through the loss of a loved one or they're looking to prearrange even. Um, we do have 3 guided experiences that are front and center on our homepage. You simply click the experience that you require, and it will question and answer guide you through what that looks like. And as you're answering those questions, our technology will tailor the best results for your specific needs. So I guess somewhat it's kind of a quiz that allows us to best determine what you and your family need, right?
Yeah.
And once it populates all of those funeral homes, you can actually click on each of their listings. You can compare and filter like between them to determine maybe this funeral home has better, pricing that's within our budget. Maybe this funeral home is closer and has a cemetery that our loved ones are in, and that's more meaningful for us and all that sort of thing. There's various kind of I guess like variables that come into play here, and we allow you to compare your options. So in you guys' case, of course, you know, luckily we kind of had an idea as to what you guys wanted in this situation. Many families do, many don't. But even when families do know what they want, sometimes there is this air of, are we making the right choice though? Or is there something else that maybe we should consider? Um, so giving you guys the support to in your decision, and that knowledge base, here's all the reasons why this is the best choice for you guys. This is the best funeral home, is still very, very valuable. Um, and of course, we do that connection point for you. We will
Yeah.
actually connect you to the funeral home, so you don't have to make that call that typically tends to hurt the heart. So we'll make that connection for you. The funeral home gets in touch, and essentially they'll take things from there. But we will continue to guide and support you guys with kind of our guided task lists and all that sort of thing to keep you and your family on the same page as the work that the funeral home is doing for you at the same time.
No, and it's such an important process. Again, I'm talking with Kayla Ashton, the founder of Passingon. Passingon .ca is their website. It's in the comments section, so just click on it. It will take you directly there. I know in my case, in our case, it was, oh wow, I need something now, and I'm sure maybe, and unfortunately, my mom's sister just passed away, and she was dying of cancer for a longer period of time, so they had time to prepare. So, do you offer different services that you're able to kind of cater to, obviously, people's needs? I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the right way of saying it.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, there's no good way to say it. So
Yeah.
no, all good. But yes, we do. So directly on our homepage, we do cater our 3 guided experiences. They're broken down in ways that you know meet the needs of those in different funeral positions, I guess, or maybe they're not in a position where they need a funeral home yet. Maybe um, you've recently gotten some bad news that you need to prepare for, so that we do have an imminent process for, and it is similar to pre-arranging, but we wanted to create a different process for that because once again that was a process as a funeral director that I felt didn't quite do families justice. It didn't do the best that it could for them. I felt that imminent processes, oftentimes people would prearrange, which is good. You want to get all of your ducks in a row and kind of have that peace of mind that when the time comes, you don't need to stress. The funeral home is already on top of things. You just need to inform them when the passing occurs. That's how it should be. That
Yeah.
said, I think things get complicated when people prearrange with finances. As soon as finances gets involved in imminent need situations, and say your loved one passed away sooner than expected, or later, or whatever the case, but typically when you tie up money with these insurance companies, which is how you do paid prearrangements, um, if the loved one passes away, then I was finding then the family was, here's the bill for the funeral home, and then they were unable to pay it because they just tied up those funds with an insurance company that can't release them that quickly. So then the family's going, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for this? Or it's going to be late, or whatever the case, and they're having to stress about working something out with the funeral home. So I've seen that unfortunately in various cases, and that doesn't feel good on either side of the desk. I don't feel that that was the most supportive option for funeral homes or funeral directors to guide people to pay when they're in imminent need. So
Yeah.
we do have an imminent process that allows you to prearrange with the funeral homes without any pressure to put down any kind of funding, any money, any payments, anything up front. It is in the best interest of the families. And then when that time comes, all that they do is log back into Passingon, and we will inform the funeral home that the passing has occurred. Now, on the flip side, if you are, you're sitting at home with your spouse and you're thinking about the future, you've got some money tucked aside that you would love to just arrange your funeral proceedings and all that sort of thing, put the money down so the kids don't have to worry about it in the future and all that sort of thing. I completely understand that. I think that it's actually a very wise move, especially with, there's inflation and there's all of these different things that factor into planning a funeral down the road, right? So you can kind of lock in your pricing and all that sort of thing and get everything set up. You can kind of ensure that the kids will be all right, all that sort of thing. But sometimes going into the funeral home in that position feels far too real. You don't want to meet the people that are gonna, deal with you at that time. Sometimes that's one of the feedbacks that I got, is people would come in and sit across from me and they were like, well, I didn't really want to meet you yet, but I do want to sign this document and give you everything in advance. So I think that's essentially what we built through Passingon, is we allow people to have those conversations that are important and to do that important planning, but from the comfort of their home, maybe sitting on the couch with a cup of coffee, and so they can actually just have those conversations. Yeah.
So I want to kind of just dive into a little bit of the business here side of it. Obviously, like the saying goes, right? Everybody's going to die. What do the funeral homes say? Because I imagine the old way would have been, if I would have I probably just would have went on Google, as you said, and just looked and started kind of looking through websites and saying, this looks good, and probably got a few prices and things along those lines, right? So what do funeral homes say when you're trying to, sell them on your service and put you in your directory and saying, yeah, you know what, we would like to, promote that and be involved with Passingon?
Yeah. No, I think we weren't initially too sure coming into this and building this thing, how this was initially going to be perceived. Just be it that as I said, went through school and there was somewhat of a taboo surrounding technology in the funeral industry. So we weren't entirely sure, but I'm really pleased to be able to say that we've been met with welcome arms really throughout, I would say, the majority of funeral homes and funeral directors, funeral staff and teams. I think that funeral homes in many years regulations and rules within the funeral industry haven't changed that drastically. So it's actually disallowed funeral homes to be able to market themselves in particular areas where, unfortunately, they are needed most, right? So I think when we approach funeral homes about Passingon, they quickly come to learn that this is their opportunity to market their business directly to those locations, such as hospitals, nursing homes, hospices, all of the places that they're needed but have not been allowed to market themselves. Now they can, through Passingon. And of course, we're supporting kind of some areas for funeral teams to be able to not, take a step back, but they do have the opportunity to do that if they so choose by using our services. Be it that we allow them to connect with the families without, getting that blaring phone call at 2 a.m. kind of thing and all that sort of thing. We'll deal with that for you. Essentially, we'll send them notifications and all that sort of thing. So all of the information is at their fingertips. They just need to move forward with the process, pick up the family's loved ones, all that sort of thing. And we support them with, document retrieval and information retrieval, such as vital statistic information, which is pretty much the first thing funeral homes need when they're taking someone into their care in order to register the passing with the government. So
Yeah.
that's actually something that is one of the first and foremost things that we ask families to fill out, and that gets sent directly to the funeral home. So we have been actually quite lucky. I think we've been warmly welcomed in the industry thus far.
Well, well, that's good to hear, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I would hope that would be the answer, right? I
Right.
mean,
Yes.
in the business side of things, everybody, wants probably wants more, right? As you said, there are certain things you can and can't do on the advertising and marketing and things like that. So I think
Yes.
it's a very good thing for them. And I guess moving forward, as you start to grow and look at potential markets and move outside Canada or whatever it may be, what are some of your future plans? Maybe some short-term future plans and long-term.
Yeah, I think so. Right now, obviously, we still have so many goals when it comes to building out new technologies, making our platform so incredibly versatile that it is able to really be that one stop for every family, for anything they need. So we are rolling out some really exciting new features that we're thrilled about. Obviously, I can't unfortunately tell you all of them. That said, I can tell you that we are all looking forward to some AI compatibilities and capabilities built by Passingon. um, and, things that will further support funeral homes in their efforts to support families. Obviously, funeral directors have such a loaded job, so
Yes.
we're trying to support them further, of course, in what they do with families in need. And then, of course, we're rolling out things like obituaries platforms. We're going to kind of, put it out there with a bit of a twist. It'll be something kind of new and exciting, I think, for people that will re reimagine what obituaries have been and allow for, I guess, our technology to kind of send that forward into kind of a new realm that will allow people to experience obituary writing and sharing in a different and unique way. Um, and I think that, yeah, we're very excited for those kind of launches. So short term, that's kind of, we're always working on the best things that we possibly can for our families. Long term, I guess not even super long term, but we are looking into moving our services like externally from Canada as well. Um, so we'll see what happens there. But we're kind of in a position of raising right now as well and hiring. So that's really exciting. So I think, yeah, a lot of new and exciting things happening. Obviously, we've got a long ways to go, but we're excited for everything yet to come.
Well, and it is exciting. You never know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and we've had many conversations in the last year and a half of been ups and downs and where you're going and what's changing and oh my goodness moments
Yeah.
and I mean it's just life of a startup
Oh gosh.
and
Yeah.
that's the way it rolls,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yes, and those are all exciting things. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching this journey. And again, anybody listening here, please, check out their website, passingon.ca. It's in the comment section. Just click on it and take a look at it. And I'm always sad when our conversations are coming to end. And there's so many things that we could have talked about more. I mean, even that you're talking about raising and investors and things along those lines and expansion into the United States and how that might be different. So actually, I think that might be a very good starting point for our next conversation on.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I would love to be back. So by all
Exactly.
means.
Oh, but I do have one last question,
Of course.
and I love this question. I've gotten so many great answers from so many inspirational entrepreneurs like yourself. So, Kayla, If you had one piece of advice for a startup or entrepreneur, what would that be?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Um, I think honestly, it's I don't want to say limit your expectations because that doesn't sound very motivational, but I think you just hit the nail on the head by saying things are always changing. You never know what to expect next. Um, I think, I kind of, as I built this thing from the get go, oh my gosh, I can't begin to tell you how many kind of ideas I had in my head and expectations that I had for how things would turn out per se, or how things would be built. Um, but I've learned to lean into the process and the journey, not that
Yeah.
end goal, right? Obviously, of course, we have a mission and a vision that is so beyond important. That drives this company. It drives my teammates and everyone here. Um, but on the same token, I think learning to lean in to the actual process and what it means to start a business, what it means to learn to be a CEO, learn to be an entrepreneur, to have those crazy late nights and be putting in the hours and the work and the blood, sweat, and tears. It's actually such a beautiful process. And looking at where we are now versus when we first started, I couldn't even begin to tell you how I guess like shocked I would be. Like if you told my past self that like things that would have occurred, I would have told you you're crazy. So I think leaning into the process and the journey is just so enlightening and so in just really truly incredible to experience. So taking the pressure off of that end goal and that end target or whatever it may be, I think can give yourself a lot of grace going through this whole crazy process of being an entrepreneur. And I don't know, I've really come to love every single moment of this. It's been an incredible journey, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So
Oh,
say that.
no, no. It is it is. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not easy. It's not for everybody.
No.
I mean,
Yeah. And
the
that's okay too.
stresses that come
Yeah.
are totally different and
Yeah.
add-ons to everything else. And everything that you said is extremely true. And again, for anybody who wants more information, please visit passingon.ca. It's in the comments section. And if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask Kayla, please just reach out to her. You can connect her through the website. And again, Kayla, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And I just want to say once again, thank you from our family for having something like this that made the passing of my father, a little more bearable, and the process was just seamless. So I guess I can give a recommendation, which I wish I didn't, but I can. I wish my dad was still here, but we have a lifetime of memories to remember him. And pretty much everything you see behind me is because of my dad and the love of sports and things like that. So again, thank you so much, Kayla. And for anybody that does need some help, please reach out to Pure Guidance. We have our office hours. The next one is September 24th. And yeah, Kayla, and I look forward to our next conversation. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well, Jade. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure. And I mean, I can't wait to do this again. Thank you so much.
Me too. Me too. And I hope everybody else enjoys the rest of their Wednesday. And next week we have yeah, I can't remember who's on. I have to look. Actually, I think it's a crowdfunding equity website, Go Alberta Crowdfunding. So looking forward to that conversation. Kayla, enjoy the rest of your day, as everybody else. Take
You
care.
as well. Thank you.
Bye bye.